All right. Hello, ESL 40, MC ESL 49. Congratulations on being done with your midterm exam. I am so proud of you guys for doing so much hard work now that we are doing online classes, and especially taking a midterm online in your own time. I know it can be stressful, so congratulations for being done with that. Welcome to Unit 4. This is our second to last unit in the semester. This unit is on nouns. So we're going to be talking about different kinds of nouns, subject-verb agreement, and articles and quantifiers. If that sounds really confusing to you right now, don't worry. We're going to go through everything together. So we are going to get started with this class today with a little bit of a warm-up. So let me share my screen with you. Okay. So here we are, nouns. We're taking a break from verb tenses. Of course, we still care about verb tenses a lot, but we're just going to focus on nouns today, and then we're going to really get into subject-verb agreement a lot in a little bit. So this is for our agenda for today. So we're going to do a warm-up. So please make sure you have a piece of paper or a pen and a pencil or a pen with you. We're going to review what common nouns and proper nouns are, what singular and plural nouns are, what regular and irregular nouns are, what count and non-count nouns are, and we're going to review the homework. So the warm-up for today is to fix these sentences. Now, each sentence can have maybe one error or it can have lots of errors. So at this point, I would like you to pause the video and I would like you to write down what you think are the correct sentences on a separate piece of paper. So please pause this video. There may be multiple errors in each sentence, and start playing this video when you're all set. Okay, so hopefully you've paused the video and you've written all these 5 sentences and now you're ready to go. So let's go through the answers to these. For the first sentence, there are multiple ways you could have corrected this. I corrected this by saying there are men and women buying knives from Target. Now, remember the original sentence was there is men and woman. Now this shows us that it's singular. So you could have said there is a man, man with an A, and woman buying the knives from Target. Okay, that's fine because the is applies to the singular noun. Or you could have changed this verb to there are. And then you could say men and women, right? So men with an E, women with an E. So we also don't include this article the there because as we know, the refers to something that is specific. We've talked about this when we've reviewed parts of speech. We use the when we're talking about something specific. We use a or a when we're talking about something a little bit more general. But here we don't need to have an article. We can just say they're buying knives from Target. And we had to change the spelling from knives with an F to knives with a V. So we are going to talk about spelling a lot today as well. Okay, let's take a look at sentence number 2. When I go to Arizona, I see many cacti on the drive. Now let's talk about this. Sees, that doesn't make sense because you know that I, as the subject, is singular. So you can't say sees. So I see, right? We need to keep this, this verb without the S. Many cacti. Now, you might have never heard of this word before, and that's fine. A lot of people actually say cactuses. Now, if you're sitting here going, what in the world is a cactus? Let me show you. Yes, okay. So do we understand what we're talking about now? This is a cactus. Now, usually we go with the Latin spelling of the pluralization, which is cacti, but nowadays a lot of people just say cactuses. Up to you. I see many cacti on the drive. We do need an article here. And the drive talks about the drive from here to in San Diego to Arizona. Now you might say, how do we know that that's what we're talking about? And it's because I'm talking. I made this sentence up. When I go to Arizona, I see many cacti on the drive from here to Arizona. I really like number 3. Let's go through it. So my sister went to the dentist today to get her teeth cleaned. Now, you might think the dentist, but she could have just gone to any dentist. That's actually not what we do, at least not here in the States. Everybody has or should have an established dentist. That means that you have one person that you go to when you need to get your teeth cleaned. You don't usually just go to any dentist, you go to one specific one. And we don't see multiple dentists. When we go to the dentist, we only see one of them. So that's why we say, my sister went to the dentist today to get her teeth cleaned. Now, the singular of teeth is tooth. That's one, right? This one. But the plural is teeth. This is talking about all of them. We would never go to the dentist just to get one tooth cleaned, okay? That's why we have to go to the dentist to get the teeth cleaned. That's the plural. Number 4, when I was running, I saw many children at the playground. Now, number 4 originally was when I were, right? So this is subject-verb agreement. We have to say when I was. This is the singular. I saw many children. We never say childs. Childs is not a word in English unless we are talking about child apostrophe S. When we're talking about that is the child's toy. And then we are talking about possession. We never pluralize child into childs. Okay, it's always children. At the playground. You could also say a playground here, but you have to have an article. Last one. People say that cats have, right? Because cats is plural, so we have to make sure that our verb is representative of that. Cats have 9 lives. We don't say lives, we say lives, but I do not think that's true. This is the pluralization. Life turns into lives. How did you guys do? Hopefully you did really well. If not, this is what the unit's on, so we're going to work through it. So let's break down the different kinds of nouns. We're going to go over 4 different types of noun categories, okay? So 8 different types of nouns, but 4 categories. This one is the common and proper category. For some people, this is the easiest, but something that people make mistakes on quite often. So let's talk about what this is. Common nouns are general names, while proper nouns represent something that is specialized, which requires capitalization. So a common noun is a man. We do not capitalize the M for man. However, if we're talking about somebody's specific name, we would capitalize their name, both the first name and the last name. So our example here is Victor Hugo. Another example is Walt Disney. Okay, so think of any man's name. You would not capitalize the M for man, but you would capitalize the first letter for their first name and their last name. We also have mountain, and the proper noun would be Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa. We could also say Mount Everest in Nepal. Okay, Mount Whitney here in California. You always capitalize the M for Mount if it is before a name. So if we say Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount is the short form of mountain, but we do not put a period there because it is its own word that exists. Same, we can go through ocean, right? The Atlantic Ocean. Here we do capitalize ocean because it is followed by a name. Okay, state, Minnesota. Country, United States or Australia. Building, the Empire State Building. There you see we capitalize building because it is part of a name. Cat. The cat's name is Buff, Buttons, or Fluffy. Same with dog. My dog's names are Nova and Pepper. So I would capitalize the N for Nova since she's my dog's name, and the P for Pepper. I got a new dog, you guys. um, the P for Pepper since it's her first name. Okay, we also capitalize websites. There are lots and lots and lots of things that we capitalize. Basically, if it's a name, it's a special name, it's a proper name, that means it's a proper noun. We capitalize those. If it's a common word, which means it doesn't have a specific name, it's just the general term for something, we do not capitalize it. For example, if you were writing an email to somebody and you said, my professor posted a video, you would not capitalize the P for professor. However, if you wrote an email to someone and you said, Professor Emily posted a video, then you would capitalize the P and you would capitalize the E because it's part of my name. Students have questions about this in terms of titles, like President Obama, you capitalize the P, you capitalize the O. If in English, at least, when you are referring to your grandma or aunt or uncle, if you say Uncle Joe, you would capitalize the U and you would capitalize the J. Or Grandma Rose, you would capitalize the G and you would capitalize the R. Okay? Yeah, if you have any other questions about this, I'm happy to answer them. But this is basically what common nouns are and what proper nouns are. Here's some other examples for us. So we have, you can read these in your own time, but basically we always capitalize the right-hand side because these are names where we do not capitalize the left-hand side because these are general terms. Okay? So you can pause that and read through on your own time if you would like. So we're going to move on to singular and plural nouns. This is our second category. Our first category was common and proper nouns. This one is our second category for singular and plural nouns. For this, we want to talk a little bit about subject-verb agreement. Now, we want to make sure that our subjects and our verbs complement each other. So if we see, we say, the dog chases the cat. As you guys know, this is in the present simple verb tense. This is talking about a general statement. So the dog, we're talking about a specific dog. There's no S, so we know it's singular. Chases, this is the verb, so we have to have an S because it is singular, the cat, okay? So if you have a singular subject, we are going to add an S, if it's in the present tense, to the verb. Now for the plural example, the dogs, which is a plural subject, chase the cats. We can see we have an S here, which shows pluralization, and we have no S here, which also shows pluralization. So think of it this way. If the subject is singular, the verb takes the S. If the subject is plural, the subject or a noun takes the S. This is important. Feel free to pause it and think about it for a second. Here's some other examples. Now this gets a little bit more complicated. So you know that we're using a conjunction or here. So we need to think about what are we focusing on. The ranger or the campers see the bear. Now, since we have see here, this is our verb, right? We have a compound subject. So we actually go off of the closest subject to the verb here. So we say the ranger, or, so the ranger is on its own, the campers. Since the campers have an S at the end, we do not pluralize the verb because our subject is plural. Now over here, it's the opposite. the rangers, which is plural, or the camper sees the bear. Now, this or doesn't mean and, right? It's either this person or this person. This is important because since it's or, we go with the subject that's closest to the verb. So since the camper is singular, you know this, you put the S at the end of the verb. Now let's look at this one. The rangers, comma, the explorers, comma, or the camper sees the bear. Just like we talked about, we know this since the camper is singular, we have to put an S at the end of our verb because we have this conjunction or. If it's and, it's a different story. If you said, my mom and my dad sees the bear, that would be incorrect because my mom and my dad are two people. So you'd have to say, my mom and my dad see the bear because my mom and my dad are plural. I think it's the last one. Okay, you guys? So let's look at the subject. A can of lima beans sits on the shelf. Now, the can is the subject. Lima beans is the prepositional phrase. It describes the can. So even though we see lima beans and lima beans is pluralized, this is not pluralized. We go to the subject, which is can. And this takes a little bit of paying close attention. Okay, a can of lima beans sits on the shelf. Singular, singular. The verb sits agrees with the subject can, not with beans. Okay, let's look at the second one. The women, note the spelling, W-O-M-E-N, who went to the meeting were bored. Now, same thing. The women is the subject, and you can see it's pluralized because of the E. So we know that the verb also needs to be pluralized. So again, it's all about finding the subject of the sentence, even though we might have different kinds of phrases in between the subject and the verb. Now, don't worry about the fact that it says Rule 14. This is a very important slide. This is called collective nouns. This is something we need to remember. A collective noun is used to describe a group of people or things. Now, this is a noun that takes the singular verb, but it represents a lot of different people. So, for example, if we said family, you'd say, my family is from Mexico. Okay, you think, that's interesting, because family represents multiple people, but we still use the singular is, because family is a unit. It doesn't talk about every single family member. Family is a unit. Same with group. My group is made up of Alejandra, Aziz, and Camilla. Okay, my group is. The group takes a singular noun because it is a unit. It is together. Okay, my class is online. Even though you're talking about the class that's made up of all of our classmates and me, you are still using the singular verb. So let's pay attention to collective nouns because they take the singular verb. Okay, now we're talking about regular and irregular. So our first group was common and proper. Our second category, that's the word I was looking for, the second category was singular and plural. And now we're talking about regular and irregular. Now, regular and irregular is very attached to singular and plural because if something is irregular, it will show us that in the pluralization. So let's take a look at it. Woof, awesome. So feel free to pause this and take a few minutes to read through this, but this is actually going to be talking about the spelling of pluralized words. Okay, we're talking about nouns. So for regular nouns, this is the first category, right? We see this, most nouns add S. Banana turns into bananas, flower turns into flowers, so on and so forth. So these are regular nouns. Those are nouns that only take an S. Irregular nouns are is this group starting underneath the first row. So nouns ending in consonant plus Y changes to I and add ES. Candy becomes candies. Butterfly becomes butterflies. Puppy becomes puppies. Now, I want to give you an exception. Now, in English, we can never, ever, ever spell a word with 3 vowels in a row, okay? So that's why candy is not CANDYIE or something like that. We can never have 3 vowels in a row in terms of spelling, okay? Um, so, for example, the word play, Play, if you want to, as a noun, if you want to pluralize it, you just add an S because you could not do PLAY or PLAIES, play, that doesn't work. So we have to make sure that it ends in a consonant and then a Y. Okay, so nouns ending in consonant sounds like s, z, k, ch, sh. These are pretty voiceless sounds like ch, ch, sh, sh, s, s, z, z, okay? Most of these are voiceless, so it doesn't buzz. You add ES, otherwise it'd be very hard to pronounce these words. So imagine trying to pronounce kisses, KISSS, kiss, or waltz, box, you have to say S. So kisses, waltzes, boxes, watches, dishes. So we have to add that S sound. And nouns ending in O take an ES, like toes. Potato becomes potatoes, OES. Tomato becomes tomatoes, OES. Okay. So we're going to go on to the next slide. All right, so for our regular versus irregular nouns, please take a second and go through all of these and make them plural, okay? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So take a few minutes, pause this on a sheet of paper. Please practice making these plural. Okay, so on your piece of paper, you should have 17 words that have their singular form as well as their pluralized form. Let's go through the answers. So desk is normal. That's a regular verb. That's a regular noun. So desk becomes desks. Wife with an F becomes wives. With an wife becomes wives. Sorry, this S should have been read. Delay becomes delays. Now remember, this is our example. We cannot do A, I, E, so we have to just keep the Y there. Hero becomes heroes with the ES because it ends in an O. Car is regular, just add an S. Quiz ends in a Z. And actually, this is important that we should talk about. You'll see that I doubled up the letter Z. This is because if we only had one Z, the pronunciation of this word would be quizzes. But we want to make sure that the I and the E don't ruin our pronunciation. So we have to put a second consonant sound in there so that it's not quizzes, so that it's quizzes. There are a few other ones like that that we can talk about. Knife is the same as wife. So knife becomes knives. Pony becomes ponies. We lose the Y. Tomato becomes tomatoes with an ES. Play becomes play. Bus becomes buses. Now, this is a funny one because remember the rule that I just told you about quizzes? Now, buses should have the same rule, and it used to, because if you look at that, you would think, is this pronounced booses? Because the U and the E? It's not. In Old English, there were 2 S's between the U and the E. But nowadays, it's just become more common to use one S. It's just one of those just an example in English how language has evolved and it doesn't always stick with the rules that we've created. So buses is an irregular one. Book is regular, so book becomes books. Leaf becomes leaves, VES. Fry becomes fries, IES. Zoos, you just add an S here actually, because this is two O's. So remember what we talked about with the three vowels? We can't have three vowels in a row, so we just add an S there. Potatoes is the same as tomatoes, and spy becomes spies. Hopefully you guys got 17 out of 17 correct, but if not, just go back and practice. All right, we have come to our final noun category, which is count and non-count nouns. Now, you guys have probably heard of this, but we're going to review it and we're going to continue talking about this as this semester continues, because this is a very important category that is the root of why a lot of people make mistakes with subject-verb agreement. So let's dive right in. A count noun, also known as countable, is a noun that we can literally count. We can say 1, 2, 3, 4, and it can occur in singular form or plural form. So like chair and chairs. This is usually, this we can use for count nouns, we can use articles like a, and the. So non-count nouns are nouns that we cannot count. This is because what they are made up of is so small, or the type of material it's made up of, like liquid, we cannot count it. Like one water, we can't say that. We can say one bottle of water, but if you pick up water in your palm, is this one? How can you measure that, right? So if you look at an apple, you can pick it up. I have one apple. But if you pick up water in your hands and you say, I have one water, someone would say, that doesn't make sense. How do you know that? How did you measure that? So you could have a cup of water, a bottle of water, a bowl of water, a drink of water. Yeah, so we need to add more specific words to non-count nouns if we would like to make them countable. Yep, and the uncount nouns or non-count nouns are always used with the singular, okay? So let's look to the right. We have coffee, milk, money, and pasta. Now, you might think, what in the world? All the time people ask, I'll have a coffee, or can I have one coffee? And that's pretty normal. But really what they should be saying is, I'll have one cup of coffee, or I'll have one bag of coffee, I think you can do as well. Milk, same thing. I'll have a glass of milk, I'll have a cup of milk, I'll have a bottle of milk. Money, you do not ever say monies. You cannot pluralize this. So you could say, can I have $1? Or can I have 50 cents? But you cannot say, can I have a money? Because then it's like, what? What type of money would you like? It's too general. And same with pasta. Can I have one pasta? That Okay, so here's one string, one noodle of pasta. Here you go. So you'd have a bowl of pasta, a plate of pasta. Here's some more non-count noun examples. So please take a second, pause this, and read through it. None of these words can be pluralized, my friends. None of them. So if you look at homework and you know that you've been saying homeworks all of your life, you have to stop. I'm here to tell you that that's not correct. Some of the other ones that people usually get confused with, oh yeah, like hair. You could say, I have a hair, or you look at this one hair. So yeah, I think hairs you can sometimes count. But when you're talking about, I need to get my hair cut, you're not talking about, I need to get some of my hair cut, right? So think about it how you describe it. Her hair is yellow. You do not say her hairs are yellow. You just say her hair is, because you're talking about the mass of hair. So pause and think to yourself, I cannot pluralize these things. They are non-count. Okay, take a minute. Okay. So hopefully you've paused the video and you've had a chance to read through. If you are outraged and questioning some of these, that's totally normal. Remember, a lot of times when we're speaking, we do say things like, "Oh, can I have a few teas?" Or "I'd like, yeah, I'd like 3 coffees." But when we're writing, when we're talking about the grammatical rules, we can't say these things. So I'll have a cup of tea. I'll have a glass of wine. I'll have some syrup. Okay, I'll have some soup. So this is what we're going to talk about next. Now, to the right are commonly, and a lot of this is repetitive from the last slide, but commonly confused non-count nouns. We can use with some or we can use with any, but you cannot pluralize these things. So we can say, you can bring 2 pieces of luggage. So that's important. When you go to the airport to fly somewhere, they don't say, how many luggages do you have? They would say, how many pieces of luggage do you have? And that literally means a suitcase, a backpack, a rolling bag. She got some exciting news today. News, we don't say the news is, okay? We say some exciting news. Oh man, advice. Advices is not a word. So we actually say, can you give me some advice? Or can you give me a piece of advice? We don't say advices. He owns only 30 articles of clothing. You could say pieces of clothing again. That's a beautiful piece of music. We don't have any money. We have some money. I learned some new grammar. I have a lot of homework, or I have some homework. There's so much traffic right now. So if you look at the right-hand side, you cannot pluralize these things. You cannot say vocabularies. You'd have to say vocabulary words. You cannot say jewelries. You would say pieces of jewelry. You cannot say furnitures. You would say pieces of furniture. So actually a lot of this is pieces of, just means a part of something. Okay, so let's sum up what we did in class today. We talked about common and proper nouns, our first category. We talked about singular and plural nouns, our second category. We talked about regular and irregular nouns, our third category. And we talked about count and non-count nouns, our fourth category. So what are we going to do for our homework? What you are going to do is you're going to find a news article that you're interested in. Please don't find one that's going to make you feel super anxious or depressed or just very down. Try to search for a news article that will lift you up, that will give you positivity. While you're reading the article, I'd like you to identify some of the nouns that the writer uses and put them in the appropriate category on a worksheet. So let me show you the worksheet. And I did the first one for you guys. So this is the worksheet, is on Canvas in a few different places. So let's say that I'm reading a news article about San Diego, and the news article is about new buildings in San Diego. So building here would have to be a noun. It's not the progressive form of the verb. So building, is a building common or proper? So it's basically you're deciding between these 4 categories. Let's just make it easy like this. It's either or. So is building common or proper? Do we do we capitalize it or no? We don't capitalize it unless it's a specific building like the Empire State Building. So I would put it under common because that's what the author wrote it as. Is building singular or plural? Does it have an S on it or does it not? It doesn't, so that means it's singular. If I did pluralize building, is it a regular noun or is it irregular? I would just add S to building, so that means that it's a regular noun. And can I count buildings or can I not? You can count buildings. 1 building, 2 buildings, 3 buildings, some buildings. So I would put it under count. So you can see that I chose which which one in each category, I put an X for the ones where it was incorrect, right? So how are you going to do this? This is on Canvas. So I'm going to show you guys Canvas. Okay. So, we are now on Canvas. Okay. So your homework is down here under Unit 4. You can access it there. But how we're going to submit our homework, which is worth 10 points, because I'm trying to give us some points to build up our grades, is we go to discussions, and it says nouns, day 1 homework. So I'm going to click into this. Now it says find a news article that you're interested in. Step 2, when you're reading the article, identify the nouns that the writer uses and put them in the appropriate category on the paper, which is also here. So there's 2 places you can find the paper, either under modules, module 4, or under the directions for your homework. And then step 3, post your homework here. So all you would do is you would complete the homework. You're going to press reply, and you can copy and paste the homework right in here and post the reply, or you can attach your homework. See at the bottom, there's a little attach button with the paper clip. You can save your homework and attach it as a document. But you're going to put this here, and that way you can see other people's homework, see what they came up with, and I can just tell who did the homework and who didn't. So that way I can give whoever is struggling a little bit some extra love. So we're just going to post our homework right here. So again, let's just review how we're going to get there. So you're on Canvas, okay? So how are you going to do this? You can always go to Unit 4 under modules and go to the homework and go to the PowerPoint. That's just kind of for your directions. But what you're really going to do is you're going to go over and you're going to go to discussions. Then in the discussions, the only discussion that's there, I think, for as of right now, is nouns day 1 homework. So you're going to click into that. It has the directions, it has the paper that you need, and then in order to submit it, you're going to press reply. You can copy and paste your homework into here, or you can attach it as a worksheet. Okay, you guys. I think that's about it. So thank you so much for being with me today. I hope you guys are doing well and staying safe. I miss seeing you every Monday and Wednesday, but good job on continuing our semester. I really, really am so impressed with you guys. So I'll see you soon, and take care.